Hello and welcome to the third issue of Random Comic Review. And today we're going right back to the 1980s with Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew, number 2 from April 1982, published by DC Comics with a cover price of 60 cents. The team of Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew debuted in a special insert in New Teen Titans number 16 in 1982, ahead of the first issue of their own comic. Created by longtime comics editor and writer Roy Thomas, known for his work on Avengers, the X-Men, and Conan the Barbarian, and drawn by cartoonist Scott Shaw, known for his work on the Flintstones, The Simpsons, and Sonic the Hedgehog. The Zoo Crew was the last original so-called funny animal property published by DC Comics. The Zoo Crew is a team of anthropomorphic animal superheroes who exist in DC's multiverse on Earth-C. All the original members of the Zoo Crew gain their powers through shards of a meteorite that crashed on Earth-C. Captain Carrot, aka Rodney Rabbit, is the leader of the Zoo Crew, who gains superpowers for 24 hours after consuming one of his cosmic carrots, which are infused by energy from the meteor fragment. Alley Cat Dabra, aka Felina Fur, is a magic user who uses her so-called Magic Wanda to cast spells. Pig Iron, the strongman of the team, aka Peter Porkchops, who is struck by one of the meteor fragments and thrown into a vat of molten metal. This transformed him into a being of living steel, giving him super strength. Rubber Duck, aka Bird Reynolds, is a former movie star from Follywood, California, who gained the power to stretch his body into any shape or length. Yankee Poodle, aka Rover Barkett, a gossip columnist with the ability to throw repelling blue stars from one hand and attracting red and white stripes from the other. And the last original member of the Zoo Crew is Fastback, aka Timmy Joe Terrapin, a turtle from the Okie Dokie Swamp who has super speed ability. Later on in their run, the Zoo Crew was joined by Little Cheese, aka Chester Cheese, a size-changing mouse who gained his abilities by eating a piece of experimental cheese from Earth-C's moon. The original run of Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew lasted for 20 issues, followed by a mini-series called The Oz Wonderland War. Despite being a property ripe for animation as well as toys, the Zoo Crew has yet to see a proper animated adaptation or a toy line, outside of a couple of appearances on the parody show Robot Chicken. Let's take a look at the cover of this second issue of Captain Carrot, and we see the classic hero versus hero battle. I'm sure there was some sort of misunderstanding that led to this that we'll get to when we read the issue. And you can see all the members of the Zoo Crew. Here's Captain Carrot being punched out by Pig Iron, Yankee Poodle, who was the patriotic character of the group, Rubber Duck, the stretchy character, Alley Cat Dabra, the Spellcaster, and Fastback the Speedster. So together with Strongman Pig Iron and the very Superman-like Captain Carrot, the Zoo Crew covered all the basic superhero archetypes. And we can also see this little blurb on the bottom here, and in this corner, Armordillo. I assume he's going to be a villain in this issue. Here we have the splash page. Rubber Duck, Yankee Poodle, Pig Iron, Alley Cat Dabra, Fastback. Allied with their legendary Leapin' leader, they are Captain Carrot and his Amazing Zoo Crew, created by Roy Thomas, Jerry Conway, and Scott Shaw. The macabre menace of the mammal called Armordillo. And yes, we can see Superman here. Superman was a guest star in the premiere issue number 1 of Captain Carrot. Often in first issues of new properties, they'd put a famous guest star in there to get people to buy the book. So for that issue, Superman traveled to Earth-C and had to team up with the Zoo Crew, because the Zoo Crew does exist in the DC multiverse. Here's Superman saying, well, now that Starro's space barrier is gone and everything's returned to normal, I'll be heading back to Earth 1. Look me up if you're ever in the neighborhood. So apparently Starro, the giant starfish, who some of you may have seen in the last Suicide Squad film, was somehow involved in the story in the first issue. And here's something you don't see much of in modern comics anymore: thought balloons. As Pig Iron watches Superman fly away, he thinks to himself, anybody who can fly us from Pluto to Earth in 5 minutes flat can't be all bad. It's not his fault he's so ugly. And here we have the two girls of the group, Alley Catdabra and Yankee Poodle. You know Rova, he's not half bad looking. For what was that term again? Human being. Yeah. And here's another thing you don't see a lot of in modern comics. Lots and lots of dialogue. This is a very dialogue-heavy book. When you have 6 main characters communicating, they all have a lot to say to each other. As Superman flies away, the team prepares to go their separate ways, but Captain Carrot is trying to convince them to hang out for a little while longer and get to know each other, and maybe even form a team. So an interesting bit of dialogue here from Captain Carrot. We see him refer to his civilian identity of Roger Rabbit, and he is a comic book writer. And on Earthsea, he creates a comic called Just a Lot of Animals, JLA. Get it? It's the Earthsea version of the Justice League. And yes, he refers to himself as Roger Rabbit. That was his original civilian name. But after Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out from Disney in 1988, DC retroactively changed his name to Rodney Rabbit, so there would be no confusion. Some of the Zoo Crew were okay with the idea of becoming a team. Of course, with some disagreements along the way. You can see Alley Catdabra and Yankee Poodle arguing here like cats and dogs, I guess, since they're a cat and a dog. But Pig Iron has no interest in joining the team, and he decides to head back to Pigsburg, where he lives. And that's one of the things you'd see throughout the series, and you could also hear a little bit of it when I was reading off the bios before, is Roy Thomas heavily used animal-themed puns throughout the run of the book. Pig Iron leaves the team in a huff, accidentally destroying vehicles and getting into fights with civilians along the way. Before he became Pig Iron, Peter Porkchops was a very small, timid, porky pig-like character. And now he has this incredible size and strength. Sort of like a Bruce Banner Hulk dynamic. We finally have a police officer entering the scene, and he wants to take in Pig Iron, but Pig Iron is having none of it. He tears up the sidewalk with a scrutch, and then a flip to toss the officer into the air, and Captain Carrot comes to the rescue. The rest of the Zoo Crew jumps in to save civilians from harm, and Captain Carrot steps in to try to defuse the situation. Captain Carrot admonishes Pig Iron, "Here we are, a spanking new superhero team that needs all the good press it can get, and you nearly turn us into instant supervillains instead." "All I want is to be left alone," says Pig Iron, definitely mirroring other strong monster-type characters like the Hulk and the Thing. And here we have Captain Carrot saying, "What matters now, Pig Iron, is that right this minute, half of New York's finest are probably on their way here to lock you up and throw away the key." And they are spelling New York as GNU, New York. Get it? Another animal pun. But Pig Iron is getting a little sick of Captain Carrot yelling at him, so he wraps him up in a steel girder and punts him away. The situation escalates with the cop trying to shoot Pig Iron. The bullets just bounce off. Pig Iron starts taking a tantrum and starts knocking over vehicles, and the Zoo Crew is unsure of what to do. Meanwhile, Captain Carrot, flying through the air, finally breaks free of the steel girder, but unfortunately smashes into a building. Captain Carrot gathers his senses and recognizes the building as the place where he works, the Wombat Communications Building. As he enters the building, he's surprised that his co-workers recognize him as Roger Rabbit. So he decides to come clean and let them know that he's actually Captain Carrot, but little does he know that his 24-hour carrot powers have worn off. So his co-workers just figure that he's wearing the costume as a gag and have a laugh at his expense. Back in his office, Roger goes to his window box where he grows his special carrots, eats one of them, and regains his Captain Carrot powers. So then he leaps, literally, back into action to try and stop Pig Iron's rampage. Meanwhile, the other members of the Zoo Crew are doing their best to stop Pig Iron. Fastback's speed is no use when Pig Iron simply trips him. And Alley Cadabra's spell just bounces off Pig Iron's steel shell. Yankee Poodle and Rubber Duck then try to team up to use their power simultaneously to stop Pig Iron, but it is to no avail as he just conks them both together. Captain Carrot then arrives back on the scene and continues to try to defuse the situation and talk some sense into Pig Iron. And again, compared to modern comics, there is a lot of dialogue on these pages. A lot of banter going back and forth, and after a while, a lot of it gets repetitive. Some of it does add character development, but I think most of it is simply to stretch out the issue. The Zoo Crew decides to make one last stand at stopping Pig Iron. They all try to jump him at once, and suddenly he's floating up into the air. And on these 2 pages, we can definitely see that the story is being stretched out to fill the issue. Here we have almost an entire page devoted to the aftermath of them trying to, for lack of a better term, pig pile on top of Pig Iron. There are several panels devoted to Fastback just trying to pop all of his limbs out of his turtle shell. And this page is all about recovering Rubber Duck, who has squished himself into a ball and is now being played with by a little monkey child. So definitely a lot of story padding in these 2 pages. As the Zoo Crew wonders what happened to Pig Iron, Captain Carrot notices a suspicious-looking cloud in the sky, so he decides to leap up there and investigate. And we cut back to Pig Iron, who is still being lifted into the air. And I haven't mentioned anything about the ads in this comic yet, because most of them are not very interesting. They are mostly these classified type ads for back issues of comics, or karate lessons, guitar lessons, things like that. And of course the old Atlas body ads. So not any cool ads like we saw in the last issue of the Random Comic Review, where we looked at cool ads like the ones for the original 1970s Star Wars toys. Doesn't seem to be anything that cool in this issue as far as the ads go. Speaking of ads, here's an in-house ad for a new Swamp Thing series that launched in the 80s. I believe this is the series that was eventually taken over by writer Alan Moore. And on the story side of things, we have another full-page sequence of simply Pig Iron getting to his destination. He seems to have been pulled up to some sort of ship where a giant pair of tweezers emerges to pull him inside. And here we meet the villain who has kidnapped Pig Iron. He is Brother Hood, master of the secret cabal known as Acrostic. That is an acronym meaning a corporation recently organized solely to instigate crimes. They were really stretching there to come up with that acronym. So Brother Hood wants to invite Pig Iron to join their criminal organization. He's been watching Pig Iron fight with his teammates and assumed that he is ready to become a supervillain. But Pig Iron reiterates that he just wants to be left alone. So Brother Hood invites in someone that he wants Pig Iron to meet. Brother Hood's newest recruit enters the room. "My handle's Armadillo. What's yours?" Armadillo says he just came up from San Antonio. And Pig Iron remarks, "They sure make 'em big down in the Lone Stork State, don't they?" More of those animal puns. Brother Hood would like Armadillo to help Pig Iron reconsider his decision to join Acrostic. And now a fight ensues, with Armadillo trying to use his super strong claws to slash at Pig Iron. Pig Iron counters back with a punch, but Armadillo pulls his head into his shell to avoid the hit, and then uses his spiked tail to thwack Pig Iron right in the rear end. That's gonna hurt. On the opposite page, we have another in-house ad for various DC titles of the time. Arion, Lord of Atlantis, who at that time was a backup story in the monthly Warlord series, an ad for the 40th anniversary spectacular of Wonder Woman, and at the bottom an ad for 2 titles, DC Comics Presents, which was the Superman team-up series, and Superboy. Now we see Armadillo rolling up into a ball, which is a defense mechanism that real-life armadillos use, but in this case Armadillo is coming at Pig Iron for the killing blow. Pig Iron is too winded from the previous attack to move, but that's okay because his teammate Captain Carrot bursts in to defend Pig Iron and fend off Armadillo. Captain Carrot's intervention has allowed Pig Iron to get his second wind. So he rises from the floor and says to his opponent, "I'm not too sure how long I will be standing, partner. That's how come I'm gonna total you once and for all right now." So the battle begins again, and Pig Iron does indeed clobber Armadillo. The rest of the Zoo Crew bursts in, and they try to capture Brother Hood, but he disappears. Apparently he was just a hologram. So Pig Iron then rolls up his opponent into a ball himself, and drop kicks him out the side of the ship. After being rescued by the Zoo Crew, Pig Iron decides that he does in fact want to join the team, and they unanimously welcome him back with a big yay! But as we can see in the last panel, both Brother Hood and Armadillo have survived and are planning their next move. Next issue, Frogzilla. Be here. Don't make us say we told you so. And even though the story in this issue was really padded out, I did enjoy looking at Scott Shaw's artwork throughout the issue. He does have a talent for drawing these funny animal type characters and making them very expressive, and also doing some great action scenes, as you can see here. The only time that the Captain Carrot series has ever been reprinted has been this Showcase Presents volume from back in 2014. Showcase Presents was a value line of reprints that were done in black and white and were as thick as phone books. So this volume contains the entire run of Captain Carrot along with the Oz Wonderland War. But it is in black and white. So if you ever want to see some color versions of the Captain Carrot comic, you would have to track down the original back issues, but honestly, I don't think they're that expensive. Captain Carrot is a very niche property in DC's Pantheon, and as such, you can usually get back issues fairly inexpensively. That's it for issue number 3 of Random Comic Review, and my look at Captain Carrot and his amazing Zoo Crew. An unusual part of DC Comics history, but one that I quite enjoyed when it was being published back in the 80s. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next issue.